What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Librarians, Season 3, Episode 3, and the Reunion of Evil. So, what I like about this episode is that it kind of sets up what is going to be, I believe, the running theme for this entire season, and that is the divide between the team of, you can see Cassandra thinks it's okay to use magic, Jones thinks, who cares, and then Stone is obviously the one that's no magic at all. So you kind of start to see the different opinions, and I think it's going to become a bigger thing as the season goes on. I mean, first episode it started off where you see Cassandra wanting to use a spell, and Baird's like, no magic. And as it goes, first and second episode were kind of connected. As we continued in our story, we see that she's just kind of using magic willy-nilly. Like she's all of a sudden, I might have used a such and such spell on this. And Baird, of course, like, what did I say about no magic? And so this episode, we see them going to get this crystal. Don't really know what it's involved with, but Cassandra's like, let me use a spell to open it up. Stone says no. So guy comes in, Stone fights him. She decides, I'm going to use magic anyway, opens it up, and the crystal attaches itself to her. And thus we have our episode. It turns out the crystal is wanted by these frost giants who want to consume its energy so they can live forever. And so they end up, Stone and Cassandra end up walking in on this whole, almost like a high school reunion type thing of all of these frost giants. And, it's kind of funny to see them trying to fit in. Stone is just winning everybody's approval. Cassandra's talking to this one girl that apparently used to have a thing with the frost giant that Stone is pretending to be, and then just her getting drunk and trying to sort through her problems, and then drunk vision, she all of a sudden starts to see Cassandra in a different light, and all the while you just see Stone sort of going along with it because he's like, you know what, hey, I'm gonna go get drunk, because he doesn't realize who these people are. Cassandra used the goggles and saw that they were not actually human. And so she's trying to find a way out while this other girl is just constantly confiding in her with her problems, and then starts hitting on her after she gets drunk. And she's just trying to figure out a way out of here, and she can't. But ultimately, she does get in touch with the library. They have this little scene where, of course, the guy that Stone is pretending to be shows up at the reunion. So they have who's the real, what was his name? I can't remember now. But they have that scene where they're trying to figure out which one's the real one, so they're asking questions that only the real Finkelstein, that was the name, only the real Finkelstein would know. And ultimately they find out which one is the real Finkelstein. And so they're going to sacrifice Cassandra after they realize she's got the crystal inside of her. But Stone convinces her to use magic to get them out of their situation. Stone manages to distract him for a second while Cassandra gets herself off of the platform. They escape, and now they're running, and Baird has a way to get inside of there, but ultimately the door won't hold, so they keep running into these hope-to-be doors, and then it changes back to a real door. And ultimately, Cassandra realizes a way out of it, so tells Baird to open one in the elevator. They jump down through the door, close it behind them, and all is said and done. So overall, I would say this episode, while funny and enjoyable at times, was kind of a throwaway episode, but it did do a good job of showing, like I said, what I think is going to be the main theme this season. I mean, even at the end, we see Cassandra and Stone talking, and they're talking about whether it's right or not to use magic. Cassandra's like, looks like magic saved the day, and Stone is like, well, yeah, it did, and there are always going to be moments of magic that make the bad seem not so bad. Said, but in the end, magic still caused all of this as well. It's just good point. Like, that is a good point to think about. So while magic did help them out of a situation, magic also got them into that situation to begin with. So who's right? It's a very difficult situation to try to think about and try to deal with. And I like the fact that there's no real answer by the end of this. You see Cassandra made Stone think for a second, yeah, that is a good point, but then Stone came back with a point of his own that even Cassandra admitted was also a good point. So you're starting to see how this team is trying to function together while having different ideologies as far as whether or not to use magic. And of course you got Ezekiel, just in the background for this episode, kind of has a moment where he gets to be the one in charge because he has a good idea to get them out of that situation. But all the while, he's having to hold an egg for the Loch Ness Monster because the incubator that's supposed to keep it warm isn't working anymore. And so it's just kind of a funny thing with him, but we are seeing that in a tight situation, he does have the ability to think quickly and alter his thinking into a different light that nobody else was really considering. And so now he's got an idea that nobody else has. So we are seeing his contribution to the team, which I already knew he made contributions to the team. I don't know. I keep thinking back to that episode from last season where he really changed, and then at the end of the episode, he's back to normal. But either way, it was a funny little episode with him. We get a little baby Loch Ness Monster at the end of the episode, which is kind of cute. But ultimately, it's a good episode to show what the problem is this season. What are going to be the issues that the team have to tackle? Do you use magic or not? Even if it is a life or death situation, would you use magic? And I feel like that's probably going to come into play later. There's going to be a moment where it's either use magic or you die, and they're going to have to decide in that moment. Obviously, Cassandra would be like, sure, yeah, whatever. Ezekiel probably would also be like, sure, yeah, to save my life, I'll use magic. But Stone, not so sure. In this one moment, yeah, he decided, you know what, let's use magic to get out of a situation that magic brought us into. But if it was a situation where magic was not the problem at all, there's a different situation altogether, and he needed to use magic to get himself out of that situation, to save himself, or even to save his friends, would he use magic in that situation? That, I think, is going to be the real question for this entire season. And I hope they tackle that in a good, emotional way, because like I've said, so far this season it's been a lot more emotional than the first two. Obviously, there's still been some very goofy moments. I mean, this one, not nearly as emotional as the first two episodes, or as serious as the first two episodes. But I feel like going forward, if they are going to take a bit more of a not as goofy approach on this season, I feel like there should be a moment where maybe it's like somebody is on the verge of death for some unmagic related reason. Like I can't even think of a good one. Maybe car crash, or maybe they happen to be somewhere and they're like a robbery or something. Somebody gets shot, something like that. I feel like they should have to face that situation to where now Stone has to decide, okay, your friend or family, whoever it is, their life is on the line. Magic was not involved at all. Do you still use magic to save their life? Or do you stand by your principles and say, maybe this was meant to happen? I want them to explore that a bit more. It's a good concept. It's really a good story. I hope that they've been building up to. I hope this isn't just like something they're going to talk about for a few episodes and eventually, we just come to a simple answer. I want there to be hard choices. I want there to be difficult decisions that this team has to make. So, are they going that way? I don't know. If they are, I think this episode becomes a lot better because it's just the build up to it. It's like the introduction of this situation where you have to decide whether or not to use magic. If they're not going that place, then I feel like this episode is just kind of a waste. It's just another episode. Possibilities are there, but ultimately, it all depends on where they're going with it. So, but yeah, overall, I mean, it's still a funny show to watch. Still good moments of just good comedy. So if you enjoy that, you'll enjoy this episode. If not, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Librarians reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.